Hi, my name is Maya Williams, and I'm the Education and Outreach Coordinator for the Trinity County Resource Conservation District. In July 2021, the Trinity River Restoration Program and its partners strategically placed 5,500 cubic yards of gravel into the Trinity River below Lewiston Dam. As expected, salmon returned in droves just a few months later to take advantage of the fresh spawning gravel and complete their reproductive process. As many as 1,000 Chinook salmon spawned at this site in the fall of 2021, significantly more than in recent years. Dams are a barrier in the river, blocking sediments from traveling downstream. Simultaneously, high flow events continue to mobilize and transport sediments like sand, gravel, and cobble further down below the dams. This causes the upper stretches of river below the dam to be sediment-starved. To restore these stretches of river and replenish salmon spawning grounds with good sediment, gravels and cobbles are manually added back into the system. Similar to other dammed watersheds across the American West, the Trinity River requires regular additions of gravel, known as gravel augmentation, to sustain salmon and steelhead production. Gravel augmentation to the Trinity River has occurred for decades to maintain optimal conditions for spawning salmon and egg incubation. It was the first restoration action to be identified and implemented after negative impacts to fisheries from dam construction were realized. The first gravel augmentation happened in 1972, less than 10 years after the completion of Lewiston Dam, which blocked access to 50% of the river's historic spawning grounds. In the spring of 2021, more than a decade had passed since the last gravel infusion at this quarter-mile stretch of river below Lewiston Dam, which corresponded with a recent decline in spawning salmon in the area. When this river segment is sufficiently stocked with appropriately sized sediment, it can host the spawning activity of nearly a quarter of the Trinity River's Chinook salmon run. The overall salmon population is still a small fraction of its former size, but in the fall of 2021, the Trinity experienced one of the bigger salmon runs in the last decade. Without the added gravels, many of these fish may not have successfully completed their reproductive cycle due to a lack of available spawning habitat. In an effort to be efficient and accomplish multiple objectives, gravel for the 2021 augmentation was sourced from nearby areas of the valley that have been impacted by historic mining. Piles of mine tailings harm native fish and wildlife by confining the river and burying floodplains. The sprawling rock piles prevent vegetation from recolonizing the riparian zone and providing cover for fish when flows expand onto the floodplains. For salmon stocks, thriving floodplain areas are just as important as abundant spawning beds. The Trinity River Restoration Program is mandated to implement 3 key actions that need to occur for salmon and steelhead stocks to recover. These actions include gravel augmentation, environmental flow releases, and habitat restoration. In addition to annual gravel augmentation, program scientists recommend an annual flow schedule to maintain habitats, provide suitable temperatures, and mimic the conditions salmon evolved in over hundreds of thousands of years. To help the gravel and flow actions perform better, the program completes large-scale salmon habitat restoration projects to repair environmental damage caused by historic mining and logging practices. Dams and water diversions limit large flood events and therefore the river's capacity to reshape the landscape on its own. These restoration efforts are necessary to help the river recover. As long as the dams are in place, the program will continue to augment gravel to the spawning grounds below Lewiston Dam and adjust flows to better meet the needs of native fish. Channel restoration projects are also scheduled to continue over the next decade to create complex river habitat and reconnect the river with its historic floodplain. The intent is for channel restoration to interact with flow and gravel to become self-sustaining and ever-improving havens for fish and wildlife. If you have questions about any of these management techniques, please reach out to the Trinity River Restoration Program. To stay up to date on all of our projects, please visit trrp.net.